Welcome to the latest edition of the Jungle Juice podcast. We're here a day early. I'm Sam Gormley. He's Mick Nelson, Mick Happy, Tyson Anderson, Josh Shaw, Taylor Mays,
Chris
Bobby
Perry,
Kemp, Chris Perry, and Bengals legend Trey Waynes days away from the kickoff against the Patriots, at least when we are recording this.
Bengals legend
Trey
Trey
Waynes.
Waynes.
I mean, the man robbed us of however much money. What 40 mil, wasn't it, or something?
It was a lot. It was 14. It was 42 mil, I think. So I think it was 14 million a year, 3 years, if I remember correctly.
Wouldn't it be nice to get paid that much to play a handful of games?
Yeah, I let's see what the total snaps are. I'm guessing this guy is not in the league anymore.
Trey Waynes, no, I can't imagine that he is. And I mean, he did have the bad luck of he had a hamstring injury, or it was some ACL. I don't even remember what it was. He had injuries left and right, but still, happy Trey Waynes days away from the Bengals taking on the Patriots to open up the new year. But we appreciate you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Jungle Juice podcast. Again, we're here just a day earlier than we typically are. We got some other stuff going on, so we decided, hey, why not? We just wanted to make sure that we got it at some point. So here we are whenever we might get the opportunity to join you. Coming up on the show today, though, we're going to break down that game against the Buccaneers. The Bengals lost 17-14. What we liked, what we didn't like. And then we have another category that we're going to dedicate to Jackson Carman, because I think he deserves his own category today, because I don't think we can say we didn't like it, because that's almost an understatement as far as what we saw from Jackson Carman. We'll preview the Bengals against the Bears this week, what we want to see from that, and then touch on some of the news headlines as well, injuries, and then orange pants. Orange pants. We're going to be talking about fashion more than Nick and I probably should be talking about fashion. But we invite you to follow us on our social media channels. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We're also on your favorite podcasting platform. We're on, any of the ones that you want to follow us there. Make sure you do, and you leave us a 5-star rating. That helps other people find our show. But Mick, let's start off with how we're going to have to pretty much start off any show for the next couple of weeks, and that is Ja'Marr Chase still has not practiced with the Bengals. Of course, he did not play on Saturday against the Buccaneers, and today was not at practice. Now, this is something that has not happened, even though when he's been in this hold-in of sorts, he has still been out at practice. He's just had his hat on, and he's been watching. Zach Taylor described it after practice today, and he said pretty much, this is all I'm going to say about it. It is a quote-unquote day-to-day decision, or a day-to-day situation for Ja'Marr Chase. You told me off air before we got started that your concern level is rising just a little bit. Fair?
Yeah, just a little bit. He's been showing up to practice at least for the past few weeks. Today decided to not go to practice. I don't know. I'm not like panicking about it per se, but I mean, I've mentioned before on previous podcasts, we'd just love to see him out there. There's a new offensive coordinator there. Joe Burrow is back from injury, and it's time to get to work now. And I just really hope that something happens. I mean, the best possible news would be a contract extension. It seems like the front office and Chase's representation are in a stalemate right now. So just hopefully they can kind of work through it.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't really know what more can be said that hasn't already been said, because we really are in this waiting period. And I really think, and I know we mentioned this on the show a couple of weeks ago, that next week is when we have our big discussion, if nothing has happened, is kind of where we're going to start to actually get concerned about Chase maybe moving forward. And then we get real concerned if it's in 2 weeks, when we're 10 days out from the Bengals taking on the Patriots, that we get even more concerned, because I think that concern level just continues to steady up. Percentage chance that he plays against the Patriots.
99%.
99%. Percentage chance that he's at practice. What's the percentage chance that a deal gets done before the Patriots?
50. I think it could go either way, honestly. I think the Bengals are pretty stubborn negotiators when it comes to working out contracts. So I don't know. I mean, Chase's representation seems to be just as stubborn in this whole situation. So it's just essentially a waiting game. But I think both sides know that they want Jamar Chase to be a part of the long-term future of this franchise, of this team. So, I mean, I just don't see any sense in waiting much longer to get a deal done.
Let's move on here to our next topic, and let's go positive, and then we'll bring it back down with some injury updates, because I kind of want to talk about some fashion here, Mick, because that's where we have to head next. First off, the Bengals released theme nights for 2 of their games. One of them we predicted correctly. The other one we did not predict correctly. White Tiger night will return, and that is going to be more White Tiger afternoon. Because the Bengals are going to take on the Eagles on White Tiger night. Do you like that? Do you not? Or do you even care?
I mean, I think it's probably the most anticipated home game on the schedule this year. We don't get to see Philly come here very often. Philly's had a really good team the past few years, and direct evidence that it's the most anticipated game. I think that is the game that is going for the highest selling price right now out of all of the home games. So, yeah, I think that's a good day for them to showcase. And then if daylight savings falls around that time, I think that the fallback happens before that game. It'll eventually turn into White Tiger night at some point during the game. Maybe not at the beginning, but towards the end, it'll be White Tiger night essentially.
Yeah, and I agree, and I have nothing against that. No, one of the points is that 425 window sometimes brings higher ratings than Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, I think it definitely does in Monday Night Football.
Yes, because I know that immediately some discussions happened. Oh, could that game get flexed into Sunday Night Football? Technically,
it could.
It could. But, Mick, I will bet you any amount of money right now that it's not going to happen, because you know what Sunday Night Football is that week? 49ers Cowboys.
Yeah, that's not happening.
0% chance.
Well, so you can flex into Monday night now, I think, starting in this year.
I don't believe that game can, though. I think that doesn't happen until like December. Now, I could be wrong, but they have weird NFL flex schedule rules are confusing. The other theme night that came out, though, is Stripe the Jungle Returns, which I like a lot. They're going to do that against the Browns, which is Thursday night in December. To me, that was one of the easiest predictions to make. But they're adding to it this year. It came out yesterday. Madden, the new game was released, and on there, orange pants. And immediately everyone was like, wait a second, orange pants? That's a thing for the Bengals?
Everybody thought it was fake, including me. I was like, this isn't real right now. Life is too good if this is real.
So the orange pants, turns out it is real. And for the game against the Browns, black jerseys, orange pants. Do you like that?
Yeah, I think it's a good combo. I wish that the orange pants would just be a part of the normal home, like the default home uniform at this point. I'm not a big fan of the white pants with the orange stripes. I for some reason I just don't think that the pants look that good in the uniform. Can't really put my finger on what it is. But yeah, I'm excited for the orange pants.
I am, and I mean, Mick, you know me, I'm known fashion expert. I'm clearly just, I'm pretty much Tommy Hilfiger. I need to see them. I'm on the fence, and I might be one of the only people that is really on the fence about them, especially the black and the orange. And I don't know why, because I feel like if I like the orange and the black, like orange top, black pants. But I'm not sure how, and I've seen some of the edits, and I know it's edits, and really those, I can't put my
You don't like
finger on
the
it as
edit?
to why. I don't know.
Oh, I think the edits look clean.
See, I don't know yet. And I feel like I'm going to need to see it. And when I see it in person, I'm going to be able to say, okay, I'm a fan, or okay, I'm not a fan of it at all. And I really don't know. Now, I know there's also been some rumors. I'm going to say maybe this is a next year thing. But how would you feel about orange jerseys, orange pants, orange helmet? Too much orange?
That's the color rush we've always needed. I'd love it.
Because I think if you're going to do that, then you need to plan for an orange out at Paycor.
Yeah.
And
oh yeah,
maybe a Monday night football game against the Commanders.
Yeah.
Maybe. Could be a good time to roll that out. But I think the theme nights are both easier to predict, because I think if we would have told you it's not the Commanders for White Tiger and it's not the Browns, our next guess would have been Eagles.
Yeah.
But now I'm interested as to when that jersey schedule does come out, because usually it came out last week. I would imagine we're waiting on pretty much any day for that to be released.
They get what the combo was for the Patriots game yet?
They have not. They have not. They usually only release that. I mean, they'll release it at the beginning of the year, but for the actual what pants they're wearing with it, they usually don't do that until like they released the Bears game. I think it was yesterday that they're going to be wearing white with black pants is what they'll do for the game against the Bears on Saturday. A couple of injury updates as well. Big one. Amarius Mims has a strained pec and will be out, according to Zach Taylor, and this is a direct quote, several weeks. Now, if you remember, several weeks was Zach Taylor's go-to line just a little over a year ago when discussing one calf of Joe Burrow. This really stinks, though. More so, I know Zach Taylor is leaving the open for him to potentially be ready by the Patriots, but I'm more just saying this really stinks because Mims apparently was playing really well. He looked decent on Saturday in the preseason game, but he's missing some really critical preseason snaps.
Yeah, and especially for a guy that hasn't had a ton of reps at college. The preseason training camp, I think, was the best time for Amarius Mims to develop and to get more accustomed to the NFL game and to get more reps in. And now that we're kind of losing out on that, I mean, to be fair, I know we've had some luck over the past couple of years with, Dax didn't really miss any time in 2022. Miles didn't really miss any time in 2023, but we're not too far removed from the first round pick being out.
Chase was the first healthy one.
Yeah, Jamar Chase. It's another one. But yeah, it's usually a rite of passage for
Burrow, Jonah. Yeah. I mean, it just keeps on going back. Billy Price. Oblehi. I guess Oblehi might have just sat. Maybe I'm just thinking
Oblehi had a torn ACL, I think, at the tail end of his college career, if I remember correctly.
And maybe I just think that he didn't show up because I don't think he actually showed up at all through his Bengals career.
Mm-hmm. I think because William Jackson III, wasn't he out?
Yep, he did. He tore his pec. In fact, if my memory's right on that. So yeah, it is just bad luck. Luckily, this is just a strained pec and not a torn pec. Because a torn pec is maybe a season-ending thing for Mims, but this is just a strain, and hopefully it is just an extra precaution too. Luckily, they have just about as good of a swing tackle as you probably could potentially have in a guy by the name of Trent Brown, who fully returned to practice earlier today and probably will play some on Saturday to get him ready. This is where that signing, Mick, is just huge.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was huge to begin with. I don't think we saw Amarius Mims.
Both literally and figuratively.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you. I personally did not see Amarius Mims starting definitely to begin the season in the first place. So it's not like it's the biggest loss that we could have sustained over the past couple of days. But for his development, it just sucks. But yeah, I mean, it's a good thing you got Trent Brown, who's been a proven NFL tackle for the better part of a decade. So, there's a silver lining there that he's going to be there, and hopefully he's ready to go and he doesn't have any setbacks.
Yeah, because that is the concern. It's something I want to talk about a little bit later on in the show, is a Trent Brown setback. That is a little bit, in fact, I'm not going to even say a little bit. That is a big concern, and one I want to come back to a little bit later on in the show. A couple of the other injury updates. Last week we touched on McKinley Jackson. We weren't really sure what he was, and also Dominique Davis. So those are two big interior defensive linemen. Week to week, which is positive news at those, because, I mean, the McKinley Jackson injury, when at first he was carted off, I thought the worst potentially of him potentially being out for the season. Doesn't appear that is. Another big concern happened late last week. Charlie Jones. They had their first practice on the new turf at Paycor, and he was carted off. Right now, Zach Taylor says he is week to week still after, quote, banging knees with another player. In fact, he was out on the rehab field earlier today. That is a very underrated, because immediately I think we started having the discussion about who takes his spot in wide receiver 6. If you wanted to do that. And you've got a lot of guys, but none that necessarily make you confident. So I'm glad that Charlie Jones is going to be okay.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the other guys whenever we're reviewing this most recent preseason game, because you're going to want Charlie Jones back after kind of what we saw.
And especially for his return ability, too. I mean, that's one thing now, and I think we'll talk a little bit about the new kickoff rule here in a few minutes, but that'll be something to discuss as well. Brad Robbins left practice today with an upper right leg injury.
Ooh.
It sounds like it was in a hip flexor. So apparently he said that he was practicing kicking off and kicking field goals, because he does that from time to time, because if something happens to Evan McPherson, they need an emergency kicker, which makes sense. And the punter is the most likely guy to do that. And he felt it tweak before they started practice, and then it fully became a thing. He said he really wasn't sure whether this is I'm going to sleep on it tomorrow morning, I'm good, or it is one of those things that might cost him the punter's job. Because he might miss 2 weeks. And that could allow Rico to take his position as the punter for the Bengals. But for me, my biggest thing is this is not him hurting his arm. It's not him hurting his left hip. I'm not a punting expert, but I would imagine your hip is probably a pretty important part of your body to be a good punter.
Yeah, it's really an important part of your body to function as a human being, let alone punting a football. So, it's not a great injury for him to have. Hopefully it's not anything serious. Now, to be fair, I think just to kind of talk about what we saw on Saturday, I was pretty pleased from what we saw from both Rico and Brad Robbins, and I think it's going to be an interesting battle. I think Paul Dehner Jr. mentioned it, 4 punts of over 59 yards, I believe, between the two of them. Rico, I think, had a touchback. Robbins had a one down within the 20. But I think that they did a good job of flipping field position, and I think that I think either you're going to get a good year 2 bump out of Brad Robbins, or you're going to get better punt play out of Rico than what we had from Robbins last year. So that's at least a good sign that if Brad Robbins is hurt, that Rico seems like he can get the job done as long as he can hold correctly, I guess.
And I also appreciate that now we know how to say his last name. I kept saying Rico. It's now Rico, which I don't know that I would have. It's spelled Rehkow.
I don't think I would have came up with that either.
I wouldn't have come up with Rico, but that's how you say it. A couple other injuries to talk about as well. Jake Browning, he has a rib issue and will miss time. Luckily, and again, we'll talk about this, Logan Woodside will slide into that spot. Now, Woodside looked pretty decent. And we're going to get a little Rocky Lombardi action probably too on Saturday, which I'm very excited about. Not for any reason, just I want to see Rocky Lombardi get out there, because I love the guy that knows he has absolutely no shot of making this roster. None. And really, for Rocky Lombardi's case, probably has no shot of making the practice squad because, I mean, that's Logan Woodside's spot. So what's he got to lose? And I just love that he's going to go out there and just probably let it rip. And I hope he does.
Yeah.
And then the last, it's not an injury, but it's something to at least report. We can wish congratulations to BJ Hill. He had his first child, or had a child. I don't know if it's his first or not. So he has not been to practice the past couple of days. Apparently he's going to be back tonight. So that's as good of a reason to miss practice out of anything. So congratulations to BJ Hill. Yeah, so congrats to them. That's kind of your news update for this week, another news-heavy show. So how about we waste no more time and let's jump into the Bengals versus Bucs from Saturday. Buccaneers won 17-14. I think we split this up here into what we liked. We'll start positive, and then we'll close with the negative, what we didn't like. And if you're watching with us today and you have something that you liked, drop it in the comment section. We'd like to hear what you have to say as well. Mick, I'll let you start first. What's the first thing you liked? And I'm sure we have some overlaps.
Yeah, I imagine we do too. I guess first things first, starts with the number one guy on the team. Seeing Joe Burrow back in action, had one drive down the field that they ended up scoring a touchdown on, little 15-yard or so pass from Burrow to Higgins. It looked like a nice, clean, efficient drive. We saw Burrow have some really nice throws, some really nice plays in general from the offense. We saw Andre Yoshivash go for a really nice gain on a catch. Saw Trenton Irwin have a really nice contested catch, and then T. Higgins had a couple of catches, I think, on that drive, and especially the touchdown catch. So that was good, just seeing Joe Burrow back in action, albeit it was against mostly second stringers on the Buccaneers defense. But I think that the offense looked efficient, and hopefully they can kind of build on that.
I agree. And I mean, that one of his incompletions, so he had two incompletions. One was a blown screenplay, I think, that he just kind of threw at the feet of the offensive lineman. And then the other one was a dot by T. Higgins.
Great throw. Great throw.
Good defense. I mean, it was just like, that's football. You know, it was a great defensive play. T. Higgins almost made an incredible catch. Joe Burrow, my goodness, was that a good throw?
Yes, it was.
So that was one of the things, and I absolutely had that too, just the offense's first drive. It felt good to have a sense of normalcy, I guess, in a way. For me, though, the number one thing was that no major injuries happened. No major injuries happened because I loved Mo Egger's description. And Mick, we talked a lot about whether the starters should be playing in the preseason, and both of us think is probably the best way to describe it. But I think Mo Egger had the best way to describe how he feels about starters playing in the preseason. And I don't know if you heard his comparison, Mick, but I'm giving him full credit for this. He said it's like getting a colonoscopy. It might be necessary, but that doesn't mean I'm going to like it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's pretty accurate for it. And luckily, nobody did get hurt. What else do you have on your list? I got a couple of players here coming up too, and then some other stuff. I got actually quite a bit here. Stuff.
Yeah, I've got a few players, definitely. So let's just start with my favorite offseason addition, Jermaine Burton. Caught all three of his targets for 82 yards and a touchdown. He only had one contested catch, but I'd argue that the touchdown was kind of a contested catch, even though it was an incredible ball that Logan Woodside threw for that touchdown. So, but 24.3 average depth per target, played 20 snaps. He looked just, in a league of his own against third stringers. And given the wide receiver play we saw from some of the others that are battling for roster spots,
he separated himself.
He needs to be working earlier in the game than the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I didn't put him on my list because I felt like he would be on yours as well. But how long does it take for you to have the Jermaine Burton jersey? I know you've been looking into getting a new one. Is Jermaine Burton going to be that guy?
I'm struggling with him not being the guy. I was dead set on a Burrow jersey, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it might be a Burton. I do. The dude's going to be really good.
How about a guy that you talked a little bit about, I think, when we did our 53-man, but played really, really well, and I think you know who I'm going to.
He's on my list.
Maema Njongmeta played the most snaps on the defense. And we'll talk a little bit more about this in a few minutes. He was really the only one that was worth a damn against the run.
Yes, he was.
On the entire defense. He had a 91.4 PFF grade, 90.2 against the run. Literally, and we're going to come back to this, the entire rest of the defense was not good against the run. But Njongmeta, he was all over the field, played over 40 snaps. He could be one of those dark horse guys, and you called it.
I don't even know if I think he might be a surefire guy to make the team now. Just given the energy he brought to the defense. I think that was he the one calling plays on the defense? Do you think that was there any reports that he was calling plays? They mentioned
it, but I now couldn't process. I should have made a note of that. And
it
if you know, please
let
us know in the comments.
I guess probably. But yeah, he just seemed like really in his element. He played really well, as you mentioned, a really high defensive grade. You said 90.4. I wrote 91.4.
91.4 and 90.2 against the run.
Okay. Had a pressure on a blitz play that I think that either got a sack on that or he disrupted that play from what I remember. Had a batted pass, 7 tackles. He had 3 successful run stops. Only gave up 2 receptions for 18 yards. So, I mean, that was a really good game from Maema Njongmeta. And I think he's making the team, man.
Yeah, he at least, if not, he made himself a great audition for someone else. You know, he put his name out there, and he was given a lot of snaps, and he took advantage of it. Who's next on your list, or what's next, rather?
Next, we'll go with Josh Newton.
He was exactly next on my list as well.
Defensive back out of TCU, 5th-round pick. Played 25 snaps. He played really well in coverage, 90.5 defensive grade, 90.9 coverage grade, had a run stop. Only gave up 2 receptions for 25 yards, and also had a really nice interception in the second quarter. So I think that CB2 battle is getting hot between him, somebody else that played really well out of those 3 who I'll mention.
I'll mention him next, probably.
Yeah, I think he's going to be potentially a very valuable part of the defense.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, that comes after really his introduction to the NFL moment where he got absolutely destroyed on a block by the Buccaneers.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was funny because the camera angle had him, and all of a sudden you just saw a Bengal go flying across the screen.
Yeah.
And it was Josh Newton, and he was hurt on the play, aka probably, I'm not at TCU anymore.
Got the wind knocked out of him. And that was
but he made I don't even know if you call that a mistake, but he had his welcome to the NFL moment, and you forget about it now because he played really, really well after that point. And another guy, and I think in this realm that you were probably going to bring up that we got to give his props is Dax Hill.
Yeah.
He had a good game and gave up only 1 catch on 4 targets and had, I think that might have been an interception. The camera angles weren't great.
I think it was an interception too. I mean, I didn't see, did they even do like much of a replay on it?
No, the camera angles weren't great on it. So I guess Zach too was at the point. I mean, it's preseason.
It's preseason. Who gives a shit? Who cares?
Pretty much. But because of that, Dax Hill was rewarded today in practice. He was taking CB2 snaps.
Yep.
And I think it's deserved. That's a big question on this team. Yeah, big question.
Does he look a little more in his element when he's playing corner and not safety?
I think so.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
I think so. Yeah. It's hard to be. I mean,
it's hard to be much worse than how he played at safety. But yeah, I mean, he looked really well at corner. Played a lot of snaps. He played 33 snaps, 91 defensive grade, 91 coverage grade. Had a run stop. Only allowed 1 reception for 28 yards, and he was right on that ball too. I think it was good coverage. I think that the whoever the receiver was, I think it was maybe Raheem Jarrett. I can't remember exactly, but just made a really good play on the ball. Dax had 3 PBUs. That's quite a lot of them for one game. I think Dax looked really well, really good.
Yeah, I agree. He did everything that we would have wanted to see for him. I'm gonna go in general thing because I'd imagine it's on your list. the pass rush. And I think the pass rush looked pretty decent. And when you take that and kind of go on the inside of it, you had 4 sacks. Miles Murphy, I thought, was pretty impressive for the Bengals. I mean, you look at it, he had 13 pass rush at snaps. So 13 passing attempts. And in that, he had 2 quarterback hits in a hurry. No sacks, but when you're looking at 3 out of 13, that's a pretty good percentage for getting to the quarterback. Now, yes, we know it wasn't against the starting offensive line. It wasn't against the starting quarterback. But still, you're seeing this hope for that second-year jump for Miles Murphy. So kind of in that same realm of pass rush, Miles Murphy, I think, was somebody that I thought really stood out.
Yeah, I think Miles Murphy was great. Another name I wanted to kind of bring up was Cedric Johnson in the pass rush. Had 41 snaps total played. The rate's not as great as Miles Murphy, but still had 3 pressures, had a sack, a quarterback hit, and a hurry. So, and 4 tackles also, and 3 run stops also in the mix there. So I think Cedric Johnson played really well. I think that given the injury to Cam Sample, he's pretty much locked in his roster spot. And I think that he could be potentially, a really good depth piece along that D line.
I agree. And it's something that's that pick, when it happened, I don't know that any of us were mad, but I think some of us were like, a defensive end. It's just kind of one of those, like, is that the position that they needed? But it's looking like it might be a really good pick. And I mean, when
you get to the late rounds too, I mean, you're really just selecting the best guy.
And you took the exact words out of my mouth. Yeah, that it's just, you're doing that. Elijah Collins, I thought, made some moments there late in the fourth quarter. He is a undrafted free agent out of Oklahoma State as a running back. And as they brought up on the broadcast, he originally was at Michigan State, where he was behind Kenneth Walker, and then transferred to Oklahoma State, where he was behind Ollie Gordon. So because of that, those are 2 really good college running backs.
A little unfortunate for him.
I mean, Ollie Gordon might be the first running back taken in the draft this coming year. Him or the guy from Ohio State. You've got a couple of really good running backs coming out in there. He only had 12 snaps, but had a catch. I think he made the most of it. 2 catches. Yeah, 2 catches, had a run, about 4 or 5 yards, 6 yards. I think he made the most of his 12 snaps.
Yeah. I was fully expecting Noah Cain to be back there, the running back from LSU. That guy didn't get any snaps. So, yeah, seeing Elijah Collins being that other undrafted free agent running back, it seems like he's kind of winning the battle between those 2, probably battling with Chris Evans for a roster spot on the team. Yeah, I thought he looked pretty good in the receiving and running game.
I have one more thing that I like that I wanted to mention. How many do you have left?
I've got 2.
Okay, we'll hit one, and then I'll go, and then you go.
Cordell Volson looked really well. Looked really good. 80.1 pass block grade, 0 pressures allowed. Just played well, even though it was against the second string. But we kind of, I think we've kind of agreed on the same opinion that Cordell Volson kind of came on hot last year. It seems like he kind of figured it out in year 2. And, from what I've heard from other news sources or other opinions, that usually for offensive linemen, the big jump comes from year 2 to year 3 in terms of how efficient they are in terms of blocking and so forth. So just seeing him kind of build off that and have a good preseason game, I was happy with that.
Yeah, I can agree with that as well. I see here Frank asked this question, and he says, what's your guys' thoughts on the Bengals losing both Chase and Higgins? Bengals people are saying that the Bengals are cheap. I don't think there's any chance that Jamar Chase is not with the Bengals long term.
Yeah, I think there's a very, very, very small chance that that's going to happen.
I think, and you might agree with this, is I think that the percentage chance of T. Higgins being on the Bengals next year is about the same percentage chance that Jamar Chase is not on the Bengals long term.
Yeah, you're picking one or the other, essentially.
Yes. And they're picking Jamar Chase.
Yes.
Which is probably what they
the better one to do.
Should pick. The last one that I wanted to put in here is Zach Taylor's 4th down decision at the end of the game. I'm glad he went for it. what was it? 17 seconds left. It's 4th down and 7 or whatever it was. And he could have kicked a field goal to tie. And there's no overtime in the preseason. And I hate ties in the NFL anyways. And a preseason tie, I think I would hate even more. I just like that he said, you know what? It's preseason. Let's let Logan Woodside do something.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, how long would the field goal have been?
Oh, it would have been for McPherson. It would have been a relative chip shot. I don't know.
Okay,
48.
For a regular season game, I definitely would have gone for the field goal, especially with the down and distance. But it's preseason,
without question. Without question.
You want to get these situations in as much as you can. I can't imagine there won't be an opportunity where they will be at 4th and 7 and they have to go for it in order for them to win the game. So it's good to get those reps out now.
What's your last thing that you liked?
Player Tanner McLaughlin.
Okay.
Played 20 snaps. He only caught 1 pass for 23 yards, but I mean, he got them out of the shadow of their own goal line on that catch. Just had a really nice catch and run. Ended up grading pretty well. I don't know why I didn't write that down, but I believe the grading was pretty good.
72.7.
Yep. 75 receiving grade. But yeah, I just thought he kind of looked like an NFL tight end, and it's somebody that they could definitely use down the line.
I didn't put Logan Woodside on my list, but I think
he should be on the list. Yeah,
yes, we should mention him. He played really well.
Yeah. I thought that. I thought he played really efficient. I think he played with some fire. Just a lot of energy, electricity that he kind of provided in that 4th quarter. Looked like just a real leader at the quarterback position. And honestly, I mean, if we didn't see, what we saw out of Jake Browning in the back half of the regular season last year, I'd be maybe thinking about,
is this about
making Logan Woodside the backup quarterback because of how well he played on Saturday.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that at all. What did you think of the kickoff rule? First time really seeing it.
Yeah, I thought every kickoff was pretty entertaining to watch. I think that the special teams units are just going to get more and more creative once they get more experience in using this in real game time. I think it's going to do a little bit. I think it's going to bolster offense a little bit. I from what I saw, at least in the Bengals game, it seemed like a lot of possessions were, instead of at the 25, they're at the 30, which, I'd say slowly that probably drives up points across the board in the league. People love watching offense. So yeah, I mean, I was happy with watching it. I think it's probably gonna be entertaining to watch this year.
I'm still open to it. I think it's impossible for us to make a true call on it after only 1 week, too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we might discuss this at the bye week. Week 12, is that the bye week this year? 13, 11, 13, something like that, whenever it is. We might discuss it then and have real concerns about it not being something long-term. But I think right now it's hard to look at because even as you touched on, these teams are probably going to be as absolute basic as they possibly can, because if Darren Simmons has this crazy idea of something that might work, I can't imagine him wanting to put it on film in a game that means absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And he might not even put it on film. He might not even throw it out there against the Patriots. Do you wait in that and throw it out there against the Chiefs? Like I'm just fascinated on how all of this is going to work out. Because I love strategy. I know you love strategy, and this is strategy to a level that, I mean, when's the last time the NFL had something completely brand new that you don't know how to strategize?
I can't even think of anything.
Exactly. I mean, and I'm sure that probably has to make a guy like Darren Simmons kind of excited.
Yeah.
What didn't you like? And should we just start with the obvious?
There's quite a bit, but we can. I mean, the obvious. I don't even think it's in the bad category. It's in the ugly category, and that was the run defense.
See, I thought you were gonna. I was gonna go with a person first. Let's
you want to just go. You want to start about?
Let's just crap on Jackson Carman and just get it out of the way. Is that okay with you?
I'll let you do most of the crapping on him. But yeah, it wasn't a great performance from him, at least in one respect, which was the
Penalties.
penalties. Yeah.
Yeah. Penalties, not great. Not great at all. I mean, his grading, like his run blocking grade was a 69, which is not
Wasn't bad. He only gave up
not
one
awful,
pressure on 33 snaps as well.
but you say that's a 69, but he only had 5 run blocking snaps. So that a little misleading there. But 3 holds and a false start. You're getting beat by guys who might not even be in the NFL in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I felt bad.
Lost about all the confidence, I think.
Anthony Munoz at one point was literally just like, oof. Oof. Yeah. It's just, and it's hilarious that you're having a left tackle play, and maybe the greatest left tackle in NFL history is watching him and just being like, yeah, he not supposed to do that. So yeah, Jackson Carman, there we go. We've said it. It was not good. But yeah, the run defense was
bad.
Not good.
Really bad.
Not good at all.
No. Just consistently, and I think it was mostly on the interior defensive line where you don't have a true nose tackle, which is again, as
they're beat up
before.
They're beat up on the interior defensive line. You didn't see any BJ Hill, you didn't see any Sheldon Rankins, you didn't see any McKinley Jackson, and Chris Jenkins was non-existent, really.
No, Chris Jenkins did not look good. You can tell he was playing out of position. He's trying to play nose tackle, and he is the body of a 3-tech or a 3-4 defensive end. He's not a nose tackle, and you have him playing out of position. How did you really expect that to go? I mean, the one guy that has a nose tackle build is the one defensive interior guy that didn't look absolutely horrible in Travis Bell, and Travis Bell didn't look that good either. So yeah, it was a pretty poor performance from the interior defensive line. A lot of just not really even missed tackling. It's just you're not even getting the opportunity to tackle because you're just getting blown off the ball immediately, and that's a problem. Now, the silver lining is, well, we didn't see BJ Hill or Sheldon Rankins play, albeit I don't think either of those two are very good run defenders either. They're much more better in the pass rush department. I mean, yeah, there's a legitimate cause for concern. I mean, if there's an Achilles heel on this team, it's the interior defensive line, especially when it comes to playing against the run. And I think both of us kind of saw our worst fears kind of come to life in that preseason game, that teams could potentially do this to us.
Now, I will say, and I'm not making an excuse by any stretch, the Bucs have a nice little running back room.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know. I don't know about that, but yeah.
Bucky Irving, I liked him coming out of college, and I think he looked pretty good.
I wasn't too high on Bucky, but yeah.
Oh, well, I thought he was good at Oregon. But still, I mean, and I'm not making excuses by any stretch with that. It is, though, a major concern. Now, what you hope is okay, that was the interior defensive line is just beat up beyond belief. And they would literally that week signed a couple of guys off the streets to play, and they were playing. So that's kind of and I don't even know that's an optimistic take. That's kind of what I guess you're hoping is the case, is that you didn't have a bunch of your big guys and you're so beat up that guys like Travis Bell and so on were playing more snaps, obviously, than they are in a real game. If Travis Bell is playing meaningful snaps and for the Bengals this year, then we've got some major concerns.
I will say I'll take Travis Bell over Josh Tupou. From what I saw from him, I've been more comfortable with him than Tupou, at least. But that's really not saying much.
I was going to say, that's really not saying anything at all. But I mean, yeah, you look, he was the only true nose guard that even took a snap really in that game. Because I think, your outside guys, Osai looked good. Miles Murphy looked pretty good.
Cedric Johnson looked good.
But like Carlos Davis, who again, I think we saw him at the local Wendy's a couple of weeks ago. Not good. Zach Carter, your boy Mick, not good.
Jeez, criminy, yeah, that was bad.
Chris Jenkins, not good. And what you can hope is for a guy like Chris Jenkins is that was his, I'm not at Michigan anymore. Oh, moment.
Yeah. I'm not in Michigan, and I'm also playing out of position right now.
Yes. But some other things that I think stood out to me is not, because that was a big aspect for me, along with Jackson Carman, was a player that did kind of disappoint me, and he really probably wasn't somebody that was going to make the roster anyways, but he was one of those names, and you hear this, the undrafted guy that gets mentioned a lot by the media as far as looking really good in practice, making plays, and so on. You're thinking, okay, I'm excited to see him, because obviously I can't get to training camp. So really, preseason games is the only opportunity I get to see guys like this. And Lance Robinson, he was a guy that I mean, I had heard, like, I think Dave Lapham went on like a 2 or 3 minute point after like the first week of practice, was like, man, this guy's not, like, he's doing some stuff. I think he even had an interception or two.
Really?
Yeah, he had looked like, apparently in practice had looked. So he was a guy that I kind of had he wasn't worth me mentioning last week as somebody that I wanted to like look for or something, but it was kind of the mental note of, in the fourth quarter, I want to see what this guy is like. Oh boy.
Not good. Not good. Okay, to be fair, and Lance Robinson looked really bad, right? But to be fair, how many of these were on naked bootleg plays because the Bengals don't know how to, we couldn't defend the run whatsoever, so he was just absolutely exposed every time that they ran a naked bootleg, and they were just like, oh, well, Lance got exposed there again. We'll just throw it to that guy. That's, I don't know if that would be expected to happen every week, but yeah, it was a bad performance from him. I mean, what are we seeing? Six receptions on 6 targets, 59 yards. He didn't give up a touchdown, so that's cool.
But he kind of did, because he had the penalty on fourth down,
the PI,
that then turned into a touchdown. So he didn't technically give up a touchdown, but kind of he did at the same time. Now, I hated, because at least in the broadcast that I saw, there wasn't a great angle to see if it was pass interference or not. I would imagine that it was, just because the day that he was having probably was. He was probably trying to do something to not look like an idiot anymore. But I always hate that for the undrafted guy. He gets his first opportunity to get out there, and I'm not sure it could have gone worse.
It was pretty bad. Yeah. I didn't even mention him because he wasn't even on my radar for a roster spot at all. But yeah, it wasn't a good performance. I guess I'll go ahead and transition. I was really disappointed in, I guess, are we calling it the second string offense as a whole? And I'm not going to put a lot of it on Jake Browning, because I think, one, I don't think the offensive line was nearly as efficient when Jake Browning was back there. I think he was dealing with a lot of pressure. And two, and it may not be really the offensive line's fault nearly as much as it was the wide receiver's fault that he was playing with. So, I mean, you had guys like Kendrick Pryor, who we've seen have good success in the preseason before with this team. And you had guys like Cedric Jackson, who we've seen make a couple plays here and there, and Kwame Lassiter, who's been a mainstay on the practice squad. And with this injury to Charlie Jones, now I think that there's a good chance he's back by week 1. But in the case that he has a setback, or in the case that he's not ready, these guys should be battling for a roster spot right now. Those 3 guys I just mentioned, and none of them really could get any separation from second and third string Tampa Bay defensive backs. Just couldn't get any production going, couldn't provide really any support for Jake Browning. Kendrick Pryor, 1 catch on 2 targets for 11 yards, a measly 0.39 yards per route ran. He had a very crucial drop in the second quarter. Cedric Jackson, about the same thing, 1 catch for 3 yards. Now, he did have an opportunity at another catch in the second quarter that I think was a DPI call on the. It should have been a DPI call on the defensive back. But yeah, he didn't really have a great game either. And I don't have Kwame Lassiter's stats up, but I don't think he was that great either.
Yeah. I mean, old Kwame. In fact, I don't even. Let's see how I can even look at this. I just had the stats up in front of me, and now that I've clicked it, I can't seem to find it. But yeah, still, it wasn't anything to write home about by any stretch with that. You saw a little bit about Hakeem Butler. He's, I think, still probably like an 8th or 9th in the running as far as, a real dark horse. He's probably the guy that is on the practice squad and comes up maybe for one or two games this season. If an injury to I'm not even sure the wide receiver that he would replace on the roster.
Who are we talking about?
Hakeem Butler.
He had a DPI call on him too, didn't he? Or what? Shouldn't have been a.
Yes, he was the one. He was the one in the in the last drive of the game.
Yeah,
I think, wasn't it? I guess Mike says Yoshi, that if Yoshi got hurt, maybe Hakeem Butler would be Yoshi, but they're still kind of different receivers.
I mean, I'd say T. Higgins, honestly. I mean, Hakeem Butler is an ex-wide receiver, and I don't think really there's another one on the roster right now.
Shedrick Jackson?
Yeah, I guess. He would be the other one, I guess.
Like, ooh. But yeah, not feeling too good on that. Anything else that you really didn't like that stands out?
Jordan Battle had a bad game.
I love that he had a stretch there of like 3. It was like it happened like 3 times in 4 plays or 3 times in 5 plays where he had to keep pulling up for not just having massive hits. He had the one big hit that they originally threw a penalty on, but then picked it up. And then like the next 2 plays, he was in on it as well. And he kind of pulled up as to not have a penalty on.
Yeah. And I think that probably, maybe he was a little more conscious because those other 2 were after the penalty that got called back, right?
Correct.
But yeah, I don't know. Grading was bad on run defense, 36 run defensive grade. He had a missed tackle, gave up a reception for 16 yards. It was just not a great performance that we saw from him, especially after how great he looked in the regular season last year. So hopefully it was just him kind of taking the training wheels off for the 2024 season, because I mean, I think we all thought, and I still think, I still think this way, and I think a lot of others do, that he is going to be an important part of the defense this year. And I think he should be starting, probably over Von Bell or, being platooned in with Geno Stone, because Geno Stone can't run defend whatsoever. So it's, hopefully he can kind of right the path a little bit after a bad game on Saturday.
Yeah, because it wasn't great, and that's he was their highest graded PFF guy last year on defense, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was,
and he was one of the higher graded.
That wasn't Trey Hendrickson. That wasn't Trey.
Yeah. I mean, and probably on the entire team, because I can't mention anyone on offense was remotely close to the 90+ range that I think Jordan Battle was in, or at least in that general vicinity for it. Anything else that you didn't like, or you want to jump into talking a little bit about Bengals Bears on Saturday?
Let's go ahead and talk about the upcoming game.
So Bengals Bears, for one, you get a joint practice this week, which is where you'll at least have some interesting things. The extra addition to that is what do the Bears have going on this year, Mick? Hard Knocks.
Hey.
So you'll see some of this on Hard Knocks.
There we go.
So, that'll be interesting to watch. I guess that'll be on next week's, or maybe in 2 weeks, the episode of Hard Knocks. I don't know how quick they turn that around typically. But yeah, so you'll get to see that. I think that will be where you're going to see most of your action. And I'm interested to see what the Bengals do as far as starters on Saturday. We really haven't heard a lot. I think Zach Taylor will talk tomorrow, where I'm sure he'll give more of his plan on whether Joe Burrow will play. But let's go 4 downs again for things that we want to see on Saturday as the Bengals take on the Bears up in Chicago. And I'll kick it off first this time. I think you did last week because I'm going to steal your probably one of yours. I want to see, and this is if Joe Burrow plays, I want to see Joe Burrow and Jermaine Burton on the field at the same time.
I'd be happy with that.
I want to see that connection and see how that, because Joe Burrow, one of the things he likes a lot is he wants to have a level of trust with his receivers. And if he does not have that level of trust, that guy is not going to play.
Yeah.
Like, you look at Trenton Irwin. Does Trenton Irwin get the amount of snaps he gets on the Bengals on a lot of other teams in the NFL? Maybe not. But that's because Burrow has that level of trust in him for that reason. So because of that, I want to see Jermaine Burton build that trust more with Burrow in more of a game setting if Burrow is playing on Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of stole, maybe not seeing Burrow and Burton on the field per se, because I don't know if we will see Burrow, but just seeing Burton on the field earlier on in the game than the fourth quarter running with the threes. I mean, this guy was outclassing everybody on the field when he was playing in the fourth quarter. That guy should be playing over Shedrick Jackson and Kwame Lassiter, Kendrick Pryor, whoever. So, yeah, just getting him integrated early, hopefully maybe even starting the game on Saturday against the Bears. I just want to see more Jermaine Burton on the field. The guy's just absolutely electric. I think he's already becoming a fan favorite. So, yeah, just go ahead, and I hope we see more of him.
Is that your first down then, too?
Sure.
We'll go second down, and it wouldn't shock me if this is on your list as well. Something better against the run?
Yeah. Just
more
competent run defense, and the Bears like to play their starters, I think, in the preseason. So we might be in for another rough one.
They're also working in a new quarterback too, in Caleb Williams, who, he's not Lamar, but he can run.
I'll tell you what, he looked really good in his game on either Saturday or Sunday. I can't even remember.
Yeah, last week, I don't even, Bills, right? I think that's
yes.
Right.
He looked really good against the Bills, I guess, second and third string defense. But yeah, that guy is going to be pretty good in the league, I think.
I mean, this is off topic, but what's your realistic expectation for him? Like, in 5 years, where does he rank as far as quarterbacks in the NFL?
Top 10, easy.
So you think, okay.
Yeah.
Is he top 5?
I think he's probably going to be fringe top 5. It's going to be tough because I think that he's got a very high floor and very high ceiling, where his floor, I think, is probably Dak Prescott, where he's a fringe, top 5, solidified top 10 quarterback in the league.
Comparison.
Yeah, and then I think that the ceiling, just because of his ability to make plays off script, is Patrick Mahomes. I think, yeah, as long as he has what it takes in between the years, and he has a good offensive coaching staff around him, which I am a fan of Shane Waldron and what he's done throughout his career. Yeah, I think that he could be one of the best in the league.
Did my guy Leroy select you $5 or something?
No.
What's your second down?
Well, I guess more competent run defense was
great minds. Think alike.
Yeah, I don't know. That's
third down. I'll go this, and really my third and fourth are kind of similar, but I'm going to go third. I want to see Trent Brown.
Yeah,
I just hope he gets his feet wet. It wouldn't. I feel like Trent Brown, though, is the kind of player that's going to look at Zach Taylor and say, "I'm not playing in any preseason games. Sorry about your luck. I'm not." Just based on his personality, it seems like he's kind of in that mentality. But I want to see some of Trent Brown out there, if anything else, just to get his feet wet against a Bears defense that is, I mean, they're not the 85 Bears, but they're not bad by any stretch.
Yeah,
they're not atrocious.
I don't think they're good.
They're not atrocious.
They might be a bottom 5 defense in the league this year. But anyways, so I guess my third down would be I want to see this CB2 battle heat up even more, which I think that we already saw really good play out of Dax Hill and Josh Newton in the first preseason game. I guess I kind of want to see both of them build upon their performances they had this past Saturday. And then hopefully maybe DJ Turner can end up getting some heat at some point. and we just have really good competition between those three.
Yeah, because if DJ Turner is your quarterback 4, you're feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, you're feeling decent about a guy like that who has experience that could potentially slide up into that. My fourth down for this things I'm looking for is I want to see something better or more out of the depth in the offensive line.
Yeah.
Matt Lee played pretty well when he got his opportunity on Saturday.
Trey Hill did not.
Yes. And
Cody Ford looked good.
Yeah, and Deontay Smith returned to practice this week, so you might be able to see him out there. I just am – I mean, I'm not even going to lie to you. As much as I'm worried about the interior defensive line, I am almost – maybe not just as worried, but I am in that, tier maybe below of worry level of injury to one of those guys on the interior. Ted Karras. I like Matt Lee, what we've seen from him. I like what, we talked a lot about him in draft season, about a guy that we really liked, but he's still never played an NFL game. I mean, I don't count Saturday, really. I mean, okay, he's played 20 snaps in the NFL in his career. And that was preseason against the Bucs, 5th string defense, probably at that point. But, you got Cody Ford of the guard position, but who's behind Cody Ford? Okay.
Nobody.
Let's say Mims is worse than they thought. And let's say he's out for the first 4 weeks of the season.
He's going to have to be the tackle.
Trent Brown. You've got Trent Brown in
there.
there.
I mean, Cody Ford would have to be the backup tackle in that situation.
Well, I know Zach Taylor. I was reading an article from Paul Dehner Jr. I think he wrote it earlier this morning that Zach Taylor pretty much said they don't really want Cody Ford as a tackle, that they really want him as a guard in that scenario. Now, that might be the worst case, but my concern and what I want to see on Saturday is one of these tackles to make a name for themselves, because if Trent Brown would get hurt then and Mims is still beat up,
What would you do in that situation, just to kind of put you on the spot here?
Off myself?
No. Jeez, try me.
No, I don't even know.
I mean, I feel like the best answer
is Cody Ford.
No, I mean, I would even say, because I think Jackson Carman, and I hate to bring his name up in this, has played better at left tackle than any other position. So flipping Orlando Brown Jr. to the right side and giving Jackson a spot at the left tackle position would probably be the best way to go about it. But yeah, also Cody Ford if no interior offensive line injuries happen. But yeah, I can only imagine that they're going to be kind of scouring the waiver wire here with whoever gets cut from these teams for both interior defensive line help and really just offensive line depth at any position at this point.
Yes, because I really want to see more of that, whether it's Deontay Smith and maybe it's Jackson Carman. Maybe Jackson Carman is going to come out and play better. And it was just he had a bad night. And we all have.
Well, I think with Jackson Carman, it's just all what's in between the ears. I just think that
he cares.
Yeah, I mean, he just doesn't. He definitely didn't seem focused in this game, and I mean, 2 of those penalties were mental penalties. I mean, holding happens on probably every play with any offensive lineman at some point. So, the holding call, that those happen, but the false start shouldn't be happening. And I guess you're getting it out of the way in the preseason, and you're not doing it in a regular season game. But when you're battling for a roster spot, you can't afford to be doing that.
Especially too when what was the ball, the 4?
Yeah.
So you're making a hard play even harder. Technically, it was only a 2-yard penalty because it was half the distance, or maybe a yard and a half. I don't remember exactly the yardage, but you're only making things
false start too. It was bad
at home
a
preseason game where probably there's no noise at all.
Not a lot of it.
No,
and you're on offense. Yeah, that's
yeah. It's just it's just entirely mental. But the offensive line depth is something I'm really going to be watching for. Do you have another thing that you're watching for on Saturday?
This is just completely off the spot, but I just want to see more Maema Njongmeta playing at the linebacker position. We already talked about how good of a game he had against the Bucs. I think he's probably going to make the roster now because of that. in their lack of depth at linebacker. So I think they're looking to bring in a new guy at that position group. Definitely outplayed Devin Harper this past week. I didn't even mention him on my list of really bad players because he was awful.
Devin Harper at least graded decent in special teams.
He did?
He did. He graded an 88 on special teams.
Well, that's good. I didn't even look at special teams. His defensive grade was pretty bad.
Yeah.
In the 20s.
And listen, you know me, I might be the captain. You're the captain of the Zach Carter hate train. I'm the captain of the Devin Harper hate train. I'm not a fan of Devin Harper. I've just, to me, he was an easy cut. And that's why I'm even happy to see a guy like Njongmeta come out there and have a really good game, because then you don't have to worry about a guy like having to put focus.
What's the story on ADG? Is he playing? What's his deal? Is he still hurt?
He played 8 snaps. 8 snaps, graded an 82.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So that's pretty good for him. In fact, I was even looking at because I meant to look at Aaron Casey. Not a great game for him, as well, as he was a guy that I was excited when they got him as a good undrafted free agent linebacker. You know, you're not going to get a guy who's elite at that, but just somebody who I wanted to keep an eye on, and it was not necessarily the greatest performance from him in his preseason debut. But as you know, I mean, it could be one of those things that it comes out there on Saturday and Njongmeta looks like an undrafted free agent and Aaron Casey looks like a 4th round pick. You know,
there's a
it's
chance.
Just that's just how the preseason kind of goes sometimes.
Sometimes you go through peaks and valleys, Sam.
Amen.
Words of wisdom right there.
Getting deep in
Chase
life.
He's going to quit, apparently.
No, he's not. No, he's not. Because if he quits, he doesn't get paid.
No, he doesn't. He's going to be back. I just hope that I just hope they work out an extension that cures all drama. You can kind of just, and also I'm just so excited to see those 3 wide receivers, Chase, Burton, and Higgins, on the field at the same time, because that's going to be an absolutely. You thought Chase, Boyd, and Higgins were good. This is going to be even better, man.
And then you combine it with the best tight end Joe Burrow's probably had, or at least potentially. I mean, with Gesicki or even, Tanner Hudson or Eric Hall or McLaughlin.
Ooh. Yeah, Hudson didn't do himself any favors.
He did not.
Saturday.
He did not. I don't know that he's necessarily in the bad category.
It wasn't good. I mean, he was only charged with 1 drop, but I swear I saw like 3 that he probably could have had.
And that tight end position is just really interesting. Along with, I think Jay Morrison was listening last week. He had said that the punter battle is one of the most fascinating battles he's ever seen in covering the Bengals. Now, just because there's so many different ways they could go with it, with Rico or Robbins. And I think Rico might have a little bit of an edge now just based on that Robbins injury. But that's going to be another thing. How does Rico, if Robbins can't go, let's just say Robbins is out a week and Rico gets all of the punts on Saturday, can he win the job? Like that might be my fifth down because we're in Kansas City. Can Rico win the job? I always like that when players get their opportunity, can they take full advantage of it and can they just win it? And that's maybe a 5th down for it. You got a prediction?
I'm going to cheat. Just give me a second here.
You going to look at the spread?
Yeah.
Let's see. Hey, before you look, what do you think it is? I'm going to say Bears 1.5.
I'll say Bengals 2.5. 41 over under 41.5. 36.5 over under. Bears -6. Holy shit.
Bears -6.
Okay.
I don't think I would ever bet on a preseason game. Or are you putting it down right now?
No.
Oh, I thought you were about to be very confident in that. I'll go, you know what? I'll say Bengals 20, Bears 16. which I think might have been the same exact score I did last week, but flipped.
We'll
Let's
do
say the Bengals win this.
Bears 20, Bengals 13.
Okay, so very similar with that. I'm just ready, and again, I know I've said this every single week. I just hope nobody gets hurt, really, on either side. Like, I don't want Caleb Williams to get hurt. I don't want DJ Moore to get hurt or anything with that. Remember to follow us on our social media channels. We are on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We are on your favorite podcasting platform as well. So you can follow us along there. Make sure you subscribe to us and give us a 5-star rating. We'll be back Tuesday of next week as well. Not the same date that we usually are. We're usually on Wednesday. So make sure you join us then. Mick, hopefully they can come out on Saturday.
There we go. Yep. If you're going to the game, safe travels. Yeah. Who day, guys? Thanks for watching.
Enjoy some Chicago casserole. They call it pizza, but it's a casserole.
Oh, I love it. So good.
Ugh.
And some Italian beef.
Chicago dog?
We're watching season 3 of the No. It's like the Italian beef is like Chicago's version of the Philly cheesesteak.
Yeah. I know what it is. I was more just saying. I was more adding another thing that they're known for.
Oh, Chicago dogs are good.
Chicago dogs, yeah.
Good food.
No tomato. We'll see you next week. Who day?
Who day, guys? Thanks for watching.